What is going on, guys? Welcome to week 6 of the WBE. This week we have a really tough matchup. This is against the Tennessee Trubbish and Deathly. So his team is extremely threatening. First thing I notice is that this man's got a Alolan Ninetales, which is actually something I'm pretty damn worried about, and I did do some prepping for. So having a fairy type is pretty good against my team. And one important thing to note here is that I'm actually doing this in a post-commentary style because of the fact that as I was recording this live, I forgot to hit the box that turned on the microphone. So I'm stupid, but we're going to go ahead and do this the old-fashioned way. So we get matched up with him here. Like I said, we're going to kind of just do our best in this match. Kind of a little bit iffy in terms of how we're going to do here because I do think he has a great matchup against my team, but I brought these dudes. We brought Tentacruel back because it does do well against the Alolan Ninetales. It also does pretty good against his Starmie, so we can take a hit from that thing. And overall, I think that these are kind of our best boys here. We decided to go with Alolan Sandslash as our Stealth Rocker because it's, again, a good check to the Alolan Ninetales. It's a good answer to Venusaur, but checking out what he got, the first thing I noticed is that this man did not bring the Alolan Ninetales, and that is actually amazing for us. So he does have the Muck, which is kind of something I was not really expecting. The Hitmonchan could be pretty scary because it can take a hit from my Gyarados. He's got the freaking Starmie, which is just fast as hell and has pretty much a super effective hit on like everything on my team except for the Alolan Sandslash, I believe. But I'm thinking about lead options for him. I kind of expect him to want to go with that Venusaur, so I don't really want to go with Mega Gyarados. They don't really have much to hit that thing with, and I don't really want to take a Mega Drain from that thing, so I kind of want to go with Alolan Sandslash. Getting up Stealth Rock would be pretty nice here. It does limit that Dodrio coming in. The Lapras takes a lot, so we are going to go with our buddy Cold Cuts here. He does have a great matchup against that Mega Venusaur, and if he does want to put something to sleep, I guess Sandslash would probably be the best for that. So we're going to send out the old Sandslash boy, and let's go ahead and get this started. I'm actually pretty nervous for this match because I feel like we got tossed to kind of easy match last week, but this time we back up in it. I haven't had a whole lot of time to prepare, so we're just going to kind of do the best we can, and if this doesn't go exactly the way we want, that's fine because I'm not really expecting much. So he actually ends up leading off with his Muck, and that's something that is like, wow, okay, I did not really see that coming at all, and at first I'm like, okay, well, I can get my Stealth Rock up essentially for free, although then as I'm thinking about it, he definitely has Fire Punch on Muck. There's no reason why he would lead off with this thing. He knows that Sandslash is my best lead option, so I don't really want to get bopped with a Fire Punch. I know that Sandslash can definitely live at least one of them, and I could fire off an Earthquake in return. I'm thinking maybe he's going to taunt, but I end up actually just switching directly into my Gyarados here. And the reason for that is because obviously we take nothing from a Fire Punch, and then we actually do scare this Muck quite a bit with the potential Earthquake, so we do not get burned by the Fire Punch, and that is fantastic news. So got to go ahead and Mega Evolve here. The rules state that when you draft a Mega, you obviously have to Mega first turn, so getting in Gyarados for free is actually pretty great. There's not a whole lot that wants to come into this thing, but I'm thinking his best option for a switch in is probably the Venusaur. I don't have Earthquake on this Gyarados. I decided to put Facade on it this time because I was kind of worried about maybe getting Will-O-Wisp by potentially if he bought his regular Ninetales, but I'm just going to go ahead and Mega here, get that Unibrow going, and we just decide to go for a Crunch as he ends up staying in. So Crunch does easily over half as he takes this opportunity just to get off a nice little Toxic there. So being Toxic does kind of suck, but at least it's better than being burned. So don't have to worry about a cheeky Scald burn later, and honestly that's really not that bad for us. So seeing as he left this thing in, I thought that was kind of interesting because I figured the Earthquake was pretty obvious. I kind of just bluffed the fact that I would have that, but he got off a free Toxic, and now he's going to go ahead and switch into the Hitmonchan, which is a nice play. I really should have gone for the Waterfall there, but again, I was kind of just worried about that fat-ass Venusaur coming in, and look at how much damage that Crunch did to this Hitmonchan. My god, Mega Gyarados is an absolute beast, so I obviously cannot take a fighting move from this thing. Mega Gyarados does do pretty well for this matchup, so I don't also have a whole lot that wants to switch into Hitmonchan. So thinking about it, going with the old fighting matchup is probably my best option. I know that I can take a couple hits with Machamp, and I can actually hit this thing a little bit harder with a low kick. So I figure this is a pretty good matchup for us, as he ends up going for the Thunder Punch, which is great because that is not going to it's not going to give him any stab, and we take that better than if he were to have just gone for like a Brick Break or something. So as I'm thinking about this matchup, I know he probably doesn't want to stay in here, and his best switch in is going to be that Mega Venusaur. So I decide to go for the risky play, and that is to switch in Arcanine, hoping that he goes into his Mega Venusaur. So he does actually switch out, and in comes the Treebeard. So we got a prediction correctly there, and that is great for us. So we don't have any Stealth Rock up, and I know that this thing is going to be able to take at least one Flare Blitz, because this thing is fat as hell. Even without the thick fat, Mega Venusaur is just too thick. So we really have no reason not to just click Flare Blitz at this point. He could switch into Starmie, but if that happens, it's really not too big of a deal. He takes a whole bunch of damage from that, and then we have an easy switch, which is our Alolan Sandslash. So thinking this over a little bit, just kind of trying to play it safe, making sure that there's really nothing he wants to do. He can't go into Lapras, that thing would take too much, so we're able to just go for a nice little free Flare Blitz here. And honestly, that's what my team does well. We're able to take hits, and we just hit super hard in return. There's nothing that really can switch into my team too easily, which is great. So he is actually going to end up staying in here, and that is great for us because we're pretty much able to make this Venusaur useless at this point. We do have to take an Earthquake in return, which I did expect, but Tony is an absolute beast, and we are able to live that. So non-stab Earthquake is not quite enough to knock us out, and now at this point, we can just go ahead and finish off this Venusaur. And that is great because that is really one of the biggest threats on his team. Now I don't have to worry about anything getting put to sleep, which is fantastic. And honestly, trading Arcanine for Venusaur is really something that I kind of expected to do in this matchup anyway, so that it kind of happened exactly how I needed it. So Venusaur goes down, and now he gets a free switch. Unfortunately for us, Arcanine has kind of run its course. There's really no reason to save this thing. I don't think it's fast enough to really be worth saving, and also it's not worth really switching into my Tentacruel here. If he decides to just finish me off with a Psychic, switching into Tentacruel is not really the best option for us. So we're just going to go right for a Play Rough here, as he is going to just finish us off with a Scald. So Tony goes down, but that is fine, because now I'm feeling pretty good having knocked out that Mega Venusaur, and now we also get a free switch into the Starmie, which is great. So our best option for that is probably going to be Alolan Sandslash. I was thinking about it. I could use, so in this matchup, I actually brought Tentacruel with Mirror Coat, and the sole reason for that is that I know that I can live at least one Psychic from this thing, and then I can hit it with a Mirror Coat, which would knock this thing out. But it's a way safer option just going into Sandslash here. I would really like to get up Stealth Rock before that Dodrio and stuff comes in. Because Dodrio, that motherfucker's got 3 heads, and it's scary as hell. I really can't take too much from that thing. It's super fast. Luckily, it doesn't get access to Brave Bird, but still, Drill Pecks are kind of worrisome, and it's also just going to be really nice to kind of punish him for switches here. So I'm just going to go right for the Stealth Rock, as Starmie's best option against me is going to be Scald, and of course, he gets the damn burn. I mean, it would not be a league match if every Scald didn't get a burn. So honestly, though, I'm not too worried about it. Sandslash gets the Stealth Rock up. It would be nice to conserve this thing just for some potential priority support later on. If that Dodrio becomes a problem, I have Ice Shard for it. But now being burned, it's really not safe enough for me to switch into anything else here. I'm considering maybe switching into something like Tentacruel, but then again, if I come in on a Scald, and then if I go for the Mirror Coat, he has a switch into Muck, and it's really just kind of not looking too good for me at this point. So I'm just going to end up going for the Ice Shard. Rather than doing anything too risky, I figure Alolan Sandslash is pretty much compromised at this point, being burnt. So we just decided to go ahead and sack this thing. But we did get up the Stealth Rock, which is great because it does a great chunk to some stuff on his team. So now we can go into our really only option here. This is actually kind of puts me in a corner here. My only option is to go into Tentacruel. If I go into Machamp, I take a lot from a Psychic and potentially die. Dragonite can't take an Ice Beam, and Gyarados doesn't really want to take any unnecessary damage. So I do have to go into Tentacruel here, and I want to go for the Mirror Coat. I think it would be a great play if I'm able to pull that off, but I'm only just worried about him going back into that Muck, and seeing that I have the Mirror Coat would kind of mess things up. So I'm expecting him to switch into the Muck here. To be honest, this play, I 100% am going to expect the muck, but I'm going to actually decide to stay in, and after some decent thought, I decided to just go ahead and click Sludge Bomb. I figure that's a good middle ground play, because if Muck comes in, it takes the Stealth Rock damage and a little bit from the Sludge Bomb, and then we outspeed and kill with a Scald. But like this, if he stays in, we're actually able to get a nice chunk with that. He does stay in, he actually ends up going for the Scald. And that is not something I expected at all. I guess he was expecting me to switch, expecting him to switch, so that was an over prediction on his end that worked out great for us. And that puts us in a good spot because now we've done over half to this Starmie. We also get the poison, which is great. And Sludge Bomb is just doing its thing. Now I know I can live one Psychic because look at Tentacruel here. That is an absolute monster right there. We just take that Psychic super easily, and then we can just finish this thing off with a Sludge Bomb. So down goes the Starmie. That is the second main thing I was worried about. Honestly, Starmie and Mega Venusaur were able to take care of first, and I was really worried about those two. So Starmie going down is great. That thing does really well against all of my attackers. So Tentacruel doing its job perfectly, and so far things are going pretty much exactly how I want them to. Bringing Tentacruel was specifically to kill that Starmie, bringing Arcanine was specifically to kill the Venusaur, so we're looking pretty solid. So now he's going to bring in the Hobbits, brings in the old Trilogy, and thinking about it, it's not worth saving Tentacruel at this point. It only really could come in on the Muck, but honestly, it's really not worth saving, so unfortunately I do have to let LL Cruel J go down. I go for the Skull just on the weird off chance that something happened. There was no chance he was going to go for a Drill Run there. I could have predicted a Drill Run and got into Dragonite, but it was a risky play because a Drill Peck actually just finishes us off. So we just let Tentacruel go down, which is fine, did our job, and you know, that's what we try to do. We just try to get each Pokemon to do its job, and I would say things are working out pretty good for us so far. But as of now, we're actually down 4-3. Luckily, though, I do still have a full health Dragonite who looks like it's going to be pretty decent for us. I decide to go into Dragonite here. I'm kind of considering what he's going to want to kind of switch into. He knows that Dodrio can't knock me out here, obviously dies to an Outrage, and if he decides to switch into the Lapras here, kind of so be it. I'm not really too worried about that. It's going to take a lot of damage from the Outrage, but I do feel comfortable with what we've got left here. So we're just going to go ahead and click Outrage. Luckily, he did not bring his Fairy type, so we can kind of freely do our Dragon thing out here. As he actually just ends up staying in, he's going to go for the Drill Peck. Does less than half because Dragonite is a fucking beast, and we are able to finish it off with an Outrage. So down goes the Dodrio, and we are now tied at this point 3-3. So he's got his Muck, his Hitmonchan, and the Lapras. So at this point, I'm thinking this is pretty much anybody's match. He is forced to go into the Lapras here because this thing is the really only thing. I was actually expecting Ice Shard. I wasn't really sure if Lapras even got Ice Shard in this game, which is probably something I should have looked up. I think it actually does get it, but luckily for us, we are able to get off a strong Outrage, and that knocks this thing down to red, which is great. Now that I'm thinking about it, it probably wasn't really too big of a deal getting damage off on this thing because Machamp kind of does that anyway, but we didn't want to take any unnecessary damage with Dragonite. So now I'm down to 2. I have Shrimp and our buddy Machamp here, so I do think this is winnable. I have to go into Gyarados here because we are faster. It depends on if this thing's plus speed nature. I don't think Machamp is going to be able to outspeed if it is plus speed nature, but yeah, I think it actually has somewhere around the 80s at max speed. So Machamp, unfortunately, is not going to be able to come in here. So I do have to go Gyarados. And I know that I need to save Machamp for a matchup against the Hitmonchan. If the Hitmonchan is Jolly, it actually outspeeds Gyarados and then knocks me out with a Karate Chop. So it's pretty much going to come down to Machamp versus the Hitmonchan. This is actually a very hard decision for me. I really don't know what is going to work the best. I kind of get in my own head here thinking about the scenarios. In the end, I am going to end up going into Gyarados here, trying to get things going pretty quickly, as I know Gyarados outspeeds the Lapras, so it's a guaranteed KO here. So I'm just going to go right for, I actually click Facade just to kind of get some use out of the TM I taught this thing, so you know, that's kind of cool. We got the Facade going with the poison, so obviously knocks out the Lapras. Purple ass Nessie goes down, and now it is down to 2. He has the Muck and the Hitmonchan. Muck is in range for anything to pretty much knock it out, so if he goes into that, that's fine, as he does actually end up switching into this Muck. So Legolas comes in here, And after the stealth rock damage, obviously it's just going to take a whole bunch from pretty much anything I go for here. And I'm just trying to think about what I'm trying to think about if Machamp is able to win the matchup here. So against that Hitmonchan, I'm just going to go ahead and click Waterfall. I know that I'm able to outspeed this thing, which is why I kind of thought it was interesting him going into the muck at this point. So down that thing goes, and Gyarados is just picking up knockouts. The MVP boy out here doing its thing. So that first round pick is actually paying off pretty well for me. Getting hurt by that Toxic, but it really doesn't matter, as now he has to go into the Hitmonchan, his last Pokemon, and if it is a plus speed nature, it outspeeds me, and then it comes down to Monchan versus freaking Machamp. So I'm just going to stay in here. Obviously, I can't really switch. I just click Waterfall. And to my surprise, he actually is Adamant rather than plus speed. And that is going to knock out the Hitmonchan. So that's going to be the dub. We are able to conserve the 2-0 there. So we're able to take our 5th win in a row. The rapid spins keep on spinning, boys. So that was an intense-ass match that honestly I did not expect to win. But we were able to come through with it. And we're stoked. So we're just going to keep the wins coming, boys. We lost first week, and then we literally have not lost since. So I think I'm pretty comfortable with my team at this point, and it's honestly been pretty fun. So thank you guys for watching. As always, hit that like button on this video if you enjoyed, and if you support the rapid spins, because we're taking this whole damn championship, boys. You best believe it. Peace out, guys.